Let's compare some stats. Player X is the frontrunner for MVP, and Player Y is not the frontrunner for MVP. Player X is averaging 31 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 1 block on 48% from the field, 35% from 3, and 87% from the free throw line. Player Y is averaging 30 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal on 50, 40, 87 splits. Aren't those stats strikingly similar? Hey, maybe it's their team records. That's a fair argument. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing better than both of them, and he's nowhere near on this list because the Thunder are the 13th seed. Player X certainly has a strong case for MVP if he's putting up 30 on the best team in the conference. Player Y, forget it, man. You know who Player Y is. It's obviously Devin Booker. And you should know Player X is Jason Tatum because him and the Celtics have been on fire. When I started making this video, Devin Booker was healthy and the Suns were on top of the West. But I could substitute Embiid or the aforementioned Tatum, Giannis, Jokic, Luka. It doesn't really matter, but I promise this all ties together. Whether his team was the 1st seed or the 6th seed especially, it really doesn't even matter. And this whole thing ties into a bigger point I'm about to make. So what is it then? Is it defense? Jason Tatum is a very good defender. But don't talk to me about defense when it's concerning the MVP because Nikola Jokic robbed Giannis and Embiid back-to-back in that case, which we know he didn't. But Giannis is a great defender and Embiid is small defense. So let me get this all aligned. It's not his statistics because Booker is identical in that department. It's not team success because for the same reason, Phoenix has every right to be bad. So maybe it's a combination of all those things. Well, I'm tempted to say yes because the MVP candidates Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo are having fantastic all-around seasons. The Nuggets have been really good these last couple of games, and Joker has sharpened his defensive prowess. And Giannis is the best player on the planet, so he has that. But I can't say yes because of Luka Doncic, who's been hovering around 2nd or 3rd on the MVP ladder. Luka's team is trash. This man Luka just put up 60 points and 20 rebounds. All that to beat the Knicks without Jalen Brunson or RJ Barrett. Get this man some help. Luka is having an extraordinary season. He's averaging 33 points on an almost triple-double. I don't care what your team record is or how trash you are on D. That is an extraordinary season to have. And it feels like deja vu with Harden in 2019. My frustration has nothing to do with the individuals up for the award, but more to do with the voting process itself. Transitioning from that, I'll now tell you what the biggest factor is when it comes to MVP. Drum roll. Narrative. Narrative determines it every year. It did last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and every single year. I mean it. This has been going on forever. Let's go 30 years backwards. Look at the timeline for all 5 of Michael Jordan's MVPs. You're telling me the best he could get was back-to-back? Michael Jeffrey Jordan wasn't the most valuable player across his 11-year span for majority of the years? Come on now. Matter of fact, let's take a deep dive into those seasons because I'm about to show y'all the whole point of this video real quick. We'll remove 95 because that's when he came back from baseball and only played 17 games. And we'll remove 89 because going on by the usual criteria, Chicago's standing was too low as a 6th seed. I want you to remember that part about the 6th seed. Looking at the MVP finishes in 89-90, Jeffrey finished 3rd and Magic Johnson would win MVP. He averaged 11 more points than Magic. The assists aren't comparable, but neither is the defense. Jordan is a full steal ahead, and he came in 5th place for Defensive Player of the Year voting. Magic was never even remotely on that level. MJ was also more efficient, and he had more win shares. That's what the WS stands for. Win shares, for those that are unaware, is an advanced metric that is measured with a lot of confusing calculations I won't get into, but speaking roughly, it covers how much a player contributed to the winning of their team. The Lakers finished 63-19. The Bulls finished 55-27, so Jeffrey contributed more to a team that won less compared to Magic's. And even if you disregard win shares because it's an advanced metric and they definitely weren't using anything like that back in the 90s when pro ballers were part-time plumbers, they both still won a similar amount of games. So if they're that close and MJ was giving other teams 11 more points and lockdown defense, why didn't he get the award? because Magic was the old guard and the youngin had to prove it, and the league voters weren't going to hand him the trophy he rightfully deserved. Back then, people thought the only title Jeffrey would ever win was a scoring title. He had to prove he was a champion. And funny enough, he wins MVP back-to-back after he won the title that season, so he did establish himself. But then the narrative changed. I can confidently assure you, in '93, Michael Jordan should have won his third straight MVP. Charles Barkley did not deserve this award. MJ's stats are plainly superior, and we don't gotta look at the wins because it's the Chicago Bulls. They were winning a lot. MJ came second to Olajuwon in DPOY as well. Olajuwon was more justified to win the award than Chuck, but it sure as hell wasn't going to be Jordan, not unless he averaged 40 or something. And the reasons were simple: voter fatigue, jealousy, you name it. MJ was winning everything back then. We know this, but he wasn't revered like he is now. Old heads love looking back at the 90s in a rosary tint, but there were a lot of people back then that weren't on the Michael Jordan's the GOAT train. So you think these stingy old voters are just going to let this golden boy erase all the accomplishments set by Bird and Magic and all these other legends in a decade span? Hell no. No MVP for you, Mr. Michael Jordan. Oh damn, he did three-peat. He'd get the award in '96, but he wouldn't in '97, but then he would in '98. They really did not want this man to win 3 straight. And guess what? Looking back at '97, to no one's surprise, Karl Malone shouldn't have won it. That degenerate predator stole it from our guy Jeff. Alright, this one's pretty close, I'm not gonna lie. But Jeffrey was 5th in DPOY voting and Malone wasn't. And the Bulls won 69 games that year to the Jazz's 64. And Michael Jordan didn't get a 13-year-old girl pregnant. So he's up in that department. Michael Jordan should have won the MVP award at least 9 times compared to his 5 that he did win. What we've learned is that he did fit the bill to at least win 1 or 2 more of them, but he didn't because the narrative kept shifting year to year. It transitioned from them denying him his rightful claim to the throne out of pettiness to them eventually getting sick of him overstaying his welcome on said throne. We also learned that Championship Chuck definitely paid somebody to win his in '93, because how else did his ass walk out with that award? Oh yeah, and don't let your kids go near Karl Malone. Fast forwarding to the present, the narrative is even more congested now. I'ma just skip over all the MVPs LeBron was robbed of because that topic would span a whole video. I'll start from 2017 when Russell Westbrook won it, because that's when I feel like the inconsistencies with the criteria really became egregious. So in 2017, most of y'all know, Russell Westbrook won the MVP award averaging a triple-double, which had not been replicated by anyone other than the great Oscar Robertson. It was a feat many thought would be impossible in today's game, which sounds crazy now, 5 years removed, but that's really how everyone felt before Russ did what he did. He also broke the record for most triple-doubles in a season, as you naturally do when you're breaking every ceiling known to high-usage basketball. That entire season was magical. I enjoyed every second of it. I don't care about all the uglies, because this season wasn't about winning. They just lost KD. No sir. This season was about Russ going full scorched earth and tearing the league down. Okay, enough infatuation. Let's look at the facts. Russell came first in MVP. James Harden was right behind him, and they were going neck and neck for most of the year. If you look at the stats, they're pretty identical. Efficiencies as well. Except Westbrook actually met the mark, averaging a triple-double. Westbrook played on the 6th seed Thunder, and Harden played on the 3rd seed Rockets. 6th seed. Huh. Isn't that interesting? Remember why our pal Jeff lost to Magic? This whole process has been bogus for however long it's been processing. But the narrative was that Westbrook just averaged a goddamn triple-double for a season that no one could have thought would ever been done, because the last time it happened, John F. Kennedy was alive. Plus, Russ's storyline was that he was a scorned man who was betrayed by his brother, and now he sought blood. They rolled the red carpet for him. James Harden be damned. 2018 was just them saying, "Here, damn, now stop asking," to James Harden. Westbrook repeated the impossible season, again averaging a triple-double, but no one cared. He came 5th in MVP voting, and Harden's team was at the top. But they were very good the last year. So, like, at this point, I won't even show you the finishing stats, because this has nothing to do with that. And it has nothing to do with the best record. My issue is not with that. My issue is with the criteria being so inconsistent. Like, is it statistics or wins, or defense, or a mix of all of those? Or is it none of that? What the hell is the criteria? And truthfully, I support most of the MVPs that have been given out these recent years because the narratives do fit, but my feelings on this matter are irrelevant. If you can't see that there is an issue with the way the MVP is graded, regardless of how you personally feel, then the problem is already too embedded in the NBA verse. Narratives can stay. If a guy is having a breakout season, then he should be rewarded. If he deserves it, then he should get it. But how is one to know who deserves it when the criteria changes every year? Imagine if your finals every semester wasn't based on how many correct answers you got, but on how easy the test was for you and whether the professor liked you or not. The analogy isn't perfect, but do you see how that can be a problem? Because a player's image does matter. I can guarantee you, Joker will not win another MVP until he has a ring, even if he puts up greater numbers. His image right now is that he's great in the regular season, but he can't win anything in the playoffs because of how many times he's gotten swept or 4-1'd. They did this to Steve Nash. He won back-to-back, and then he failed to win another one because he never got a ring. They did it to Giannis right before Jokic, and he proved that he could indeed win an NBA championship. They did it to Jeffrey as well. If you're wondering why I keep calling Michael Jordan Jeffrey, because it's just funny. Anyways, the idea that you have to prove yourself even though you deserve the MVP, just looking at it numbers-wise and winning-wise and all the other stuff combined, because it's no longer based on any sort of facts. It's more so based on opinion. And by the looks of it, the dash for MVP is a two-horse race between Giannis and Tatum. So really, between the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, whoever holds the better record in the East will determine the MVP. It might sway more to Tatum just because of voter fatigue. And Jason Tatum right now is what's hot. He just took his team to the finals, and the Celtics are dominating. This is the chance of a lifetime. The old guard is descending. Who's going to hang their banner first? There's only one way to break the narrative, and that's to burn it with fire. Thanks for watching.